So round two, we are on Anzuelo, so a couple docks over in Elliott Bay, and checking things out on the back of a Sportfish. So if you take a quick look back there, you're going to see a big old cockpit, a Bernowin fillet table, a couple of rod holders from the guy who said that he wasn't the fisherman. So certainly all the gear back there and ready to go. But wanted to talk a little bit about the boat show. Starts tomorrow. We're super excited, right? Jade's going to come with us. We're going to go to the After Dark thing that they're talking about, which I don't really know what any of that means, but they said they're going to dim the lights and have some special event. So hopefully this turns out pretty cool, right?
It should be. If you haven't been to the Seattle Boat Show, it's been going on, I want to say 30 years, but it's just at Lumen Field, and they have an in-the-water portion down at Bell Harbor. And, of course, Irwin Yacht Sales will be there with a boat. If you do make it down, please go say hi to Kevin Blake. He's on a 40-foot Nimbus, little plug. But there's a lot of neat boats down there in the water. What we're going to do now is kind of go over what to expect at the boat show.
Yeah, and the boat show can be a dangerous place. It's an awful lot of fun, but I can tell you, I've got a Boston Whaler that came from one of these night events at the boat show. It was one of the coolest things ever. Thing had a baby blue hull. I'm sure some of you have seen it out on the water chasing salmon around. But yeah, that was a very, very fun night when Jenny looked at that thing and said, wow, it's got a baby blue hull. And the next thing you know, we had a tow behind. So thank you, Seattle Boat Show. I absolutely love that thing. It was awesome. The problem was it had a sign on the side of it that said, hit me here, or something to that effect. It was a bullseye. You remember that thing on that?
Oh, yeah.
So the first night of the boat show, which goes for 2 weeks, right, we end up with this thing, and it's Boston Whaler telling everybody to pound on the side of this brand new boat that we had just bought. So I knew that everybody was sitting there hitting this bullseye for 2 weeks. So absolutely incredible. The show was fun. The boat's been great. There's no signs of damage from said bullseye, but that was pretty painful to know that somebody was banging on the side of the boat the whole 2 week period.
It's fiberglass. It's just fine. I still remember Tim goes, man, you're not going to believe what I just did. He's like, hey, that's great. Anytime a boat sells is a good thing. Anytime you get out on the water is a good thing. Probably a good time to talk about what to expect at the Seattle Boat Show. It is everything boating in Seattle. So everything from your entry-level boat, let's just call it Bayliner. It's what most people know around here, Northwest homegrown boat, all the way up to some of your new stuff. The pilot houses, there are center consoles, there's hybrids, there's dual consoles. There's, of course, your competition towboats, which have just become incredible pieces of machinery that can do so much. Anything and everything you want to see that you can do boating-wise. Some incredible deals to be had. Right now, it's a good time to buy a boat. There are more boats back in inventory, so the selection of new boats has definitely gotten a bit better than it had during the COVID eras when it was just hard to even get your hands on something. I'm just kind of curious what you might be thinking for a boat show, Timmy.
I mean, I think for a lot of people, the boat show is just, the entryway to start thinking about either getting into boating or maybe getting a little bigger in boating. I know that a lot of people that I've talked to about this, that's sort of their first introduction into things like water makers, a little more advanced electronic systems, some of the more high-tech fishing gear type stuff. Just a lot of things there to see that a lot of folks haven't typically had any experience in being around, until you've spent some pretty significant time at one of these boat shows. So I think it's a great chance to go in there and check that out. One of the things that I've been hearing a ton over the last couple of years is people trying to go a little bit bigger. So if they're coming off the ski boat or coming off kind of a weekend or tow thing and trying to get into cruising and having a little bit of a cabin, doing a little bit of the Pacific Northwest stuff, going to the islands and doing all that. If you want to be able to go and maybe sleep 4 people, for instance, right? Like how big of a boat, how big does somebody need to go, and what do you think will be there to look at?
So I think you'll start to see kind of the evolution of boats. So you used to see a little bit more of the express cruiser style, the Sunbridges, they called it in the Pacific Northwest, your Sea Rays, Sundancers, your Bayliners. And it's kind of evolved over the years to a bit more of a hybrid model. So the new Sundancer, for example, has a cabin to it, but it also has an open bow. You'll see a lot more outboard motors now than you'll have ever seen before. You'll see new technology, joysticks. Probably the biggest hesitation that people have is launching their boat from a trailer, which, as we all know, can be a challenge, especially if you're doing it on a busy Saturday afternoon at a launch ramp that's just full of people, and docking your boat. Those are always the ones that kind of cause those heart palpitations that we all get. And I can tell you, even as a seasoned boater, we still get them from time to time, but you kind of learn how to manage it. You learn how to think ahead, and answering to Tim's question, if you want 4 people on a boat, you really want to look at something at least 24 feet. That will get you on the water. Could get you different sleeping arrangements. Depends on how comfortable everybody wants to be and how close they all want to be together. But 24 feet is probably the bare minimum you want for a cabin cruiser type boat to take 4 people out for a weekend. If it's a family of 4, you don't have to have the newest, the latest, the greatest to get out on the water. What you're going to see at the boat show, you're going to see the newest, the latest, and the greatest. It kind of gets the juices flowing, gets you excited about getting out on the water, and really kind of opening up your eyes to what could be. And I promise you, the first time that fin comes out of the water and you see an orca on the Puget Sound, it is mind-blowing. As Tim said, we'll get some more pictures incorporated into our video and our podcast here. There'll be ones that we actually took as we saw different things, whales, dolphins, porpoises. I mean, you name it. There's all sorts of neat stuff on the water that you just don't ever get to see. And I will tell you, even in Tim's boat, in his Boston Whaler, when you're coming into the locks and you have a massive, and I mean massive, male sea lion pull up next to you, as you're in this 17-foot Boston Whaler, you realize how big marine life really is. It is so cool. Some of the other things you're going to see at the boat show, as Tim mentioned, some of the accessories. And you get to meet people who actually produce articles. You'll meet writers. They have seminars. I don't know if you've been to any of the seminars yet, Tim.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of people talk. It's really good stuff. The people put a lot of effort into it. I think they do a really good job.
This Seattle Boat Show, they literally start planning it the day after it ends. It opens tomorrow, Friday, January 29th, runs through the 7th, and then we get to watch our world-famous Seattle Seahawks play in the Super Bowl the next day. We have a little plug for the Hawks there, of course.
Oh, yeah. And we actually went to the NFC Championship together. That's another picture. We should probably find a way to throw into that. So I can speak for myself, not having a voice until about noon on Monday, right? We definitely did some cheering for the Hawks. That was a lot of fun. So should be a great Super Bowl year.
Absolutely. And you might be also surprised who you meet on the water. There are people there are famous people that you will meet on the water, and it's kind of neat when you bump into them outside of whatever profession, whether it be sports, actors, CEOs of major companies. And one thing you'll find that's very common among boaters, it doesn't matter what boat you have. You know, we all are enjoying the water together. The enjoyment of the time on the water is really the key to this. But we did want to give a little plug to the Seattle Boat Show. It's a great event.
Yeah, good. And one thing I was hoping you could talk a little bit about is size-wise, for people that are looking to go a little bit bigger. If you're making that jump from maybe 18 foot on a trailer to 24 sitting in a marina somewhere, maybe you're ready to go 24 to 30, 30 to 40, something like that. Can you talk a little bit about the insurance, the training? I mean, it's a crazy world out there to be able to actually go bigger. It's not just being able to write the check, right? There's a lot more to it to be able to be insured and to be able to keep the boat in the marina and all that. So can you speak to that? Because I've been hearing a ton about it.
Absolutely. We run into it all the time in our transactions as people have moved into larger and larger boats. Insurance has changed dramatically over the last 7 years with the sheer volume of hurricanes down south, with the number of boaters entering the market. As difficult as COVID was, it actually was a boon for the marine industry. It got people into boating. It was one of the few things you could do. So we saw a huge influx of new boaters. And with that came insurance claims, unfortunately, as people got on the water and weren't quite ready because they just wanted to get out and do something. So as you move up in boats, it's not uncommon that your insurer will require you to get some training on your own vessel. And going to Tim's point about this not being an inexpensive venture, hiring a skipper to train you on your own boat is actually money very well spent. We have access to a wide variety of captains. No two captains are the same. Personalities, just like anything else. Finding somebody who can train you on your own boat and knowing what to expect. So as you move to that larger vessel, knowing that, hey, you're probably going to have to get some training. You may not even be able to drive it yourself the first few times, unfortunately, until that captain has signed off as proficient. But what is better than getting out on the water and getting to learn on your own boat? And pretty soon you'll probably be teaching your friends how to do things and having your own way about how you come into the dock. I always say that, when I deckhand for somebody, help somebody, I wait for them to tell me what to do because everybody does things a little bit different. They've got a little different process. When Jade and I are out on our boat, everybody always wants to help, and we really appreciate it, and everyone wants to get involved. we typically just say, hey, you know what? You're here to have a good time. Let us do our thing. We have a routine, and it gets us back to the dock safely without damaging anything. But as Tim said, as you move up in larger boats, insurance is something you definitely want to discuss during the boat purchase process, whoever that might be from, whether it's the dealer or the broker, and the different types of insurance. There's boat insurance, and then there's a yacht policy. Two different things. The yacht policy sounds very expensive. It's actually not. It has different types of coverages, but depending on your experience, that will dictate what type of policy to get. And it'll cover things such as fuel spills, towing, salvage. Terms you may not have thought about or heard of, but a good experienced boat salesperson or yacht broker should be able to help guide you through that and refer you to somebody that will look to take care of you. We have a number of different insurance referrals, and during our podcast, we'll probably get one or two of them on here to just talk insurance. Yeah, it's not glamorous, but it sure is necessary and vital. And having the right insurance is key, just like anything else. And I will tell you, you do get what you pay for when it comes to insurance. So it's something to think about going forward.
And then is there a rule of thumb? Is it 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet? I mean, everybody talks about 10-foot itis, in the boat, where if you have 40 and you go to a boat show and you see a 50, and of course we need the 50. Can you go 40 to 50 and feel pretty confident about it? If you want to go 40 to 60, what's a general rule, knowing, of course, that you're not the insurance broker here?
7 to 8 feet is the general rule. And depending on how much experience you have, they may allow you to stretch to 10. So if you've had that 35-foot boat or 34-foot boat for 6-7 years, and you're going to go to a 45-foot boat, they may give you a little leeway on that based on experience. There's a lot of things that go into that insurance rating, insurance score that you're going to get when the insurance broker goes and shops the policies for you. There's various levels of insurers. Some insurers don't operate in certain states. So that's where a good insurance broker comes in, and having the right person to call and know who to call to get the right type of policy for you. And a good insurance agent will go through the various types of policies and make sure you have the limits. The other thing that comes into play too is if you're going to keep your boat in a marina, what does the marina require? It may be different than what you wanted to get for insurance. You may have to increase those limits a little bit because it's not just your boat that you're worried about. In fact, your boat's usually the last thing you're worried about in the marina. The last thing you want to do is damage your neighbor's boat, your dockmate's boat. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. The big boat on the very end, I promise you don't want to bump into that. So, but again, as we've said before, if you need help, there's always someone around to help you, whether it be your friendly dockmate, your friendly neighborhood yacht broker, or just yelling out in the marina. You might be surprised who comes to your rescue.
Yeah, and I think another thing that would be helpful too, I'd like to hear your take on this, but it's come up quite a few times for me where people have really needed to have a boat resume, as it were, put together, where they'd talk about the time that they'd spent on the water, the time that they'd spent at the helm, and they had a good solid list that was being required of them. And so I think maybe you could speak to getting that put together before you go shopping, to help in the process, and just to say, these are my hours, this is what kind of boats I've been on, this is what kind of size, how many days. I mean, I know it sounds a little goofy to say I'm going to build a boating resume, but it's come in handy for me and for clients of mine that I've talked through this process with. So what do you think?
I actually think you hit a nail on the head. When you go into this boating thing prepared, you will be amazed at how much more fun the process is. Nothing is worse than getting excited about a boat, and during the process you start to shop for insurance and you realize if you just spent a little bit of time up front, the process would have gone a little sooner. You might have gotten your boat a little sooner, or you might have gotten approved for that policy a little sooner. So, Tim, you're absolutely correct. Having a boat policy or a boat resume where you just talk about everything that you've owned, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be what you've owned, but boats that you've operated. So count the time that you spent on your friend's boat, and we never encourage anybody to put something on there that's not true. But if you've spent 2 weeks going cruising with a friend, say you chartered a boat down in the BVI's. Say maybe you've chartered a boat from one of the charter brokers here locally. Maybe you and your buddy went out fishing. You want to count all that time on the water and make sure you document as much as you can, remember as much as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. But having that resume, as Tim mentioned, is really important. And if you have that in hand when you're ready to go, and you talk to the insurance broker, you'll be surprised with how much further and quicker everything moves along. And if you need a copy of one of those boating resumes, please feel free to get a hold of Tim or I, and we're happy to give you an example of one. Just send you the template and help you out. If that's something we can do to help, we would love to do that and send you a copy of a boating resume that you can fill out and hand to your insurance broker.
Yeah, and I think, too, the realistic part of just what does it actually take to build this into your financial float plan? And we all know I'm enough of a boat geek where I'm going to keep saying financial float plan over and over again, but it's important, to look at this. And I can't tell you how many people that I've talked to over the years that they'll call me, they'll email me, right? I mean, just and say, oh, we found this boat and we love it. And the big boat show sign says it's only X number of dollars a month, And I start chuckling and I say, okay, so we're financing it first of all, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if we're going to have a boat mortgage and we're going to have all the expenses that go along with it, you need to understand what that actual bottom line number really is. And I think that's where somebody like myself, Matt, your favorite broker, I'm sure any of the folks at Irwin would be willing to talk to people. I mean, there's lots of resources. We're certainly here to help, but there's lots of great people that are in this community that can walk you through that and help you understand, if you're going to jump from 20 feet to 30 feet or 30 feet to 40 feet, what does that mean when you go from one head to two? When you start putting in an inverter and generators and all this other stuff, I think having a really good handle on what's this actually going to take to operate and how much capital do we need, in order to make this go, it is really, really important to make sure that as you go to the boat show, you get excited, you understand fully what you're getting into, and you make sure that it really does fit overall into your float plan itself.
I mean, Tim, how many people have you had come to you and said, hey, I'm going to do this, and you just you sat down, you gave them the real deal. As Tim and I have gotten to know each other when we've done financial transactions, he goes, I know this is going to sound corny. It's time to get naked with the stuff. So to get down to the nitty gritty, I mean, how many people have you helped? What advice have you given them as they start to kind of go on this boating adventure?
I think a lot of it is just finding out how it fits. I was quoted in an article, I think it was opening day of 2018, I want to say, in Northwest Yachting. One of the things, the guy who was doing the interview, he said, I've heard that the happiest day in a boater's life is the day they buy it and the day they sell it. And I kind of chuckled. I mean, that's, everybody says that, and I get it, right? But I would argue that if you plan for this, the exiting where the happiest day is when you sell it, if that's a financial thing, that you made a mistake, I think, somewhere along the way, right? I think the happiest day should be the day you buy it. It should be every single day that you spend on it. And hopefully when you sell it, it's the happiest day because you know that another family gets to enjoy that thing and you're either going bigger or into something that fits your lifestyle and your boating a little bit better. So a ton of people have talked to me about that and just said, how does this all fit? How does this all work? And I think that you really do need to make sure that you plan for it and make sure everything functions in accordance with the rest of the family's plan.
It all leads us back to the boat show. The boat show, the big Seattle boat show.
Oh, you're singing.
I can't sing. Worth a damn. We know this. But we do really hope you get down to the boat show. You go meet some vendors. Go get aboard a bunch of boats. It all starts at the Seattle Boat Show.
Okay, well, thanks for listening, and we hopefully will see you at the boat show.
See you soon.